Yes. That's me. Fantastic. Welcome everyone
Streaming right now.
to today's library event hosted by, I think, 4 different groups. We have Women Are Real, a feminist-based organization in Northern California, focusing on women's rights. We have PAUSE, Californians United for Sex-Based Evidence in Law and Policy. And also DIAD, Democrats for an Informed Approach to Gender. Today's discussion will be, on gender affirming care, lies or life-saving. It's a public debate with speakers from diverse perspectives. We have Layla Jane, a detransitioner from California. We have Ari, who identifies as formerly trans, from Seattle, Washington. We have Alana, who identifies as an Indigenous person and identifies as trans. And also Exelancic, she identifies as an ex-trans from Northern California. Today's agenda.
Oh, let me go forward.
We will start with an overview of current gender affirming care ban.
This is my second try at doing this. I tried to play some of the manifesto the other day of the shooter that shot all the people up in that church and stuff like that. It was someone who was a trans who was thinking of detransing and then was turned on by other trans and then ended up causing them to shoot the thing. But I tried to play it and the web kept taking me down, especially Facebook. Hopefully they won't take me down. So I'm going to play this part and they're talking about the whole issue and then I'll play some other clips to deal with that shooting. Okay. So here we go. I haven't watched this, only a little bit. But I do know some of the people are like Exelancic and Era on there. Ari.
In the U.S., Puerto Rico, Europe, and the status of an FTC investigation with Kaiser, Stanford, Children's Hospital, and LA. And then we will have each of our panelists share their experience with gender affirming care, how it affected them. And after that, we will have an open discussion with question and answer for the panelists.
Gender affirming care is drugging them up, basically.
With the audience.
And it causes a lot of depression.
Each question will have we will have an opportunity for the pro and the con. So we will have each side represented. And then after that, we will have closing remarks.
I'll put my 2 cents in
hopefully
now.
We'll have a friendly, spirited debate today with everyone remaining calm. I know this is a very controversial topic and people get emotional, but hopefully we can all keep our emotions in check and have a great conversation today. So thank you again for coming. And let's
Hi, my name is Beth Bourne, and
Hey,
I live
everybody
in
that's
Davis,
watching.
California, and my family was
can see that
impacted by
There's people viewing,
gender
but they haven't
ideology.
commented. If you say hi,
And,
I'll be able to see
So
who
I
it
speak
is.
as a concerned mom. I was a lifelong Democrat. But I just want to thank everyone who's listening either on the live stream or who's in this room, and our incredibly
seen this
courageous 4
either
speakers
myself.
that are here, because we just need to have a conversation about.
But really, I wanted to play the manifesto of the shooter, but it seems the web will not let you do that. Not by itself, anyways.
About this. You know, I was going to put up here the number of states right now in the United States that do not allow children to undergo surgeries or hormones. It's over half of the US. Progressive countries in Europe have halted gender affirming care for minors, including the UK and France and Norway
Thank
and
God.
Finland. I'm probably missing a few. In California, just in the last several weeks, we've seen hospitals like Stanford University's hospital, the Children's Hospital in Los Angeles, Kaiser Permanente, which is the largest HMO in California, have all banned surgeries. At Kaiser Permanente, it's for 19 and under. Stanford and Children's Hospital, it's for 18 and under. Stanford and Children's Hospital have also banned hormones and the blockers, but Kaiser is still going forward with these drugs. Just a few weeks ago, back in July, I was one of the speakers, as well as Layla Jane, at the Federal Trade Commission in Washington, D.C. And, you know, the U.S. Department of Justice, the DOJ, and the Federal Trade Commission are right now undergoing an investigation on gender affirming care for children. And there's a portal if parents have experienced their child undergoing distress and being offered these drugs. You can kind of share your information there. And I just want to spend 2 more minutes just because this is why I speak out in front of the schools. And, you know, people see me as a terrorist, and that doesn't make sense, right? You know, one of the things about this ideology is it's impacting
The
girls
trans
in sports.
ideology is a cult.
You know, you can see in this
It's
photo, you
extreme,
probably
too.
can't see it online, but it's a picture of a boy who was winning the state championship in high jump, long jump, and triple jump back in May. And so we're telling girls that, you know, it's okay for boys to be in your sports and in your private spaces. And we have to ask, why are we allowing this? We're California and we're progressive. What
To keep
about
it up,
girls'
and there won't
women's
be
rights?
any women
then
on
just
the
lastly,
podium at all.
You know, here at this library, if you go onto their catalog, this is Yolo County Davis Library, you can look up how many children's books are here on the topic of transgenderism or, you know, being transgender. There's over 58 books, 250 in this library in total. The 58
Hey,
picture
everybody
books
in chat.
about being trans, and the books are like, you know, the pronoun book. So children, this is a picture book for 2 to 4-year-olds, right?
They're
Learn your
pushing
pronouns.
it down younger and younger.
Gender identity for kids. Anyway, there's a whole bunch of more books back there. The schools are teaching it in health and science class and surveys, gender neutral bathrooms. The list goes on. But we're here today to
It
talk
means
about the
mainly
medicine
getting
side of this. And this
gropers
is the part that
And
I
groomers
think
into the
everyone
bathrooms.
should really
That's what
be
they're
open
looking
to
to do.
listening to this perspective these people have. So thank you for being here. And I'll let Judy, do you want to take over and introduce our first speaker?
Sure. With their live?
Oh, you know, you could just, their name.
They're open to the first.
Yes, Layla first.
Layla Jane is our first speaker. Come on up, Layla.
The media is
There's a little
covering
there.
up.
You
They're
want to
trying
read
to
that?
blame it
Do
on
you want to
white
read it? Or do you want me to
supremacy.
read it?
The shooting.
Layla Jane is a courageous young woman who detransitioned. She was denied justice by Kaiser Permanente's unethical arbitration clause after undergoing a double mastectomy at age 13. She now advocates fiercely for detrans individuals working to protect children from similar harm. Her fight exposes the
Hi,
urgent need
Paula.
for reform and medical practices
John.
affecting vulnerable youth. Thank you.
Now, this isn't what I wanted to show. Yesterday, I tried to go live, and I got taken down off the web. They almost banned me from Facebook, saying it was against community standards to show with the manifesto that this dude had written and shown and videotaped. They've known of this guy like 24 times. They knew of this beforehand, that this guy was extreme. Guy, and I am saying guy.
Layla, for coming.
Thank you guys for turning out, by the way, today. So I'm someone who was fast-tracked down the medical pipeline from a really early age. I came
That's what they're
from
doing
a
to kids.
background of pre-existing comorbid mental illness, such as depression and anxiety, as well as sexual abuse trauma from my childhood. It especially became really complicated when I started to hit puberty, and I hit it kind of young. Younger than all the other girls my age. So I especially felt other than compared to my peers. I went through a lot of distress and
So
issues
this goes
coping
dead,
with the
it's the
changes in my
internet.
body, and I learned
It's
about
live.
transgenderism online.
I did it
And
yesterday.
The more I learned
tried
about
4
it, the more
times
I latched onto it
to
for
play this
a
stuff,
easy
and
reason
it kept
for
kicking
my
me off.
distress.
Not so much this
I
video,
was
but the
having
videos I'm
behavioral
gonna show, I
issues in
wanna show
school
afterwards.
around that age, 11, and began seeing therapy at Kaiser. And this initial therapist was really affirming, didn't ask why I was feeling the way I did, didn't do a formal assessment for any other underlying issues and thorough diagnostic process. She began to write out referrals for other gender clinics in the area and specialists that could begin medicating me. By 12 years old, I was starting Lupron, and mind you, I was in middle school experiencing hot flashes. It made it really hard to focus on my homework at the time. These hot flashes were so intense, I would go stand in my freezer. It's really horrible to bear. Now today I'm barely 21.
Yeah.
I live with hip pain and
I have a
joint pain
page
every
called
day,
Adorable, Deplorable
which I suspect is from
Women
the
or something
Lupron.
like that, or
Um,
Patriots.
So I took the Lupron in November of
And within about a
2016.
minute and a half,
By June of
the first
2017, I had
they
started
took
on
it down, gave me a
testosterone. Mind you, I'm
warning.
still 12.
The second time,
And
they
began around that
immediately
time having
blocked
a
it.
consult for
And the
what they
third
call
time they
top
immediately
surgery,
blocked it. I tried it
which
even the
is in
fourth
reality
time, and they still kicked me off the
elective
internet.
bilateral double
Facebook 3
mastectomy,
times.
radical.
So I was trying to go live yesterday.
During the consultation for top surgery, it was described in watered down terms. I was told I would never be able
So
to chest
this
feed.
video's
Of
from
course, being
Exa-Lancet.
12 years old
Comes
at the
on my
time
channel
of this
sometimes
consult,
about
I
this.
didn't understand the
So I thought
significance
I'd
of
lead
this
into it by playing
and
their
what implications
conference
it may
here
have
discussing it.
later on in life. As well as, a 12-year-old isn't going to consider the
This
fertility
is what's happened
implications
to
of
transers
Lupron and
that have broken up
testosterone or
and
whatever
said
cross
they're
sex hormone
detransers.
is applicable in their
Transers
case.
are invited to this, but they won't debate the subject.
I was
They
told by
can't.
my surgeon I might lose sensation, but I thought that equated to numbness. But every day I have a lot of nerve pain in the area. I can scratch until it bleeds because the skin overlying is numb, but the nerves underneath are severed and erratic.
This is the damage that's
Also,
been
to
done
circle
to
back with the chest feeding
her.
thing, I assumed that meant that my mammary glands would be removed entirely, but they're still there. They're just severed. So if I were to get pregnant, conceive a child, and begin to lactate, it wouldn't have any way to get out. It would be trapped.
Oh, I was live briefly, Marianne, yesterday, a few times, but it didn't let me stay on more than a minute and a half at a time.
As you can probably tell, my voice is deepened.
They
from
won't
the
let me
testosterone,
play the
and,
manifesto
I
that-
have a very slight
that the
Adam's
guy
apple,
recorded himself.
that can only
I
be
do have
removed
it.
with the tracheal shave.
The manifesto actually is him talking about how much harm the transing had done to him, and he was thinking about detransing. And he got to this point where all the trans people were attacking him so bad, thought he would strike out against religion and Trump. He wanted to kill Trump as well. Like it was all Trump's fault for him feeling that way.
So that's kind of the gist of my story. I guess I'll go towards where I started to detransition. I began to detransition.
But it seems like the web will not let me play
17 or so. I was scared to go back to the doctors that I was previously seeing. I didn't even know detransition was a thing, so I didn't know what to tell them. But I began to taper myself off testosterone. Shortly after I turned 18, I started my lawsuit. And it was a long 2 years. I was forced to binding arbitration based off a contract that my parents signed while I was still an infant when they initially got Kaiser coverage. So because of that, I didn't have an option for a jury trial. I had no choice. And my arbitrator ruled against me and dismissed my case based off statute of limitations.
And they want us to pay for all this
which
stuff.
is 3 years for medical malpractice in the state. So I would have needed to sue at 16, but mind you, I couldn't have even signed a legal contract, let alone I hadn't detransitioned yet. So that's kind of the overview of my story. I don't know if you want to take over here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Leila. we will have an opportunity at the end to have, if you have any questions for our speakers today. Our next speaker is Ari. Ari
Ari's
was
been
once
on
a
my channel
left-wing
before.
political operative
He's actually
who
had some
referred to himself
surgeries.
as a transsexual woman. After realizing that he had been improperly treated for childhood abuse trauma, he came to accept himself as a medicalized, gender non-conforming gay man. He now speaks and writes honestly about gender issues in defense of people who are vulnerable to being taken in by this ideology. I'm so glad he's here today.
It's a little weird to be doing this in the Blanchard room. Hi, I'm Ari. I lived about half my life as a transsexual. I was a traumatized gay boy. I grew up a very rough life. I had a lot of CSA. I had a lot of mental torture. I was really, really brutalized as a kid before the age of 12. When I got free of that, I had a lot of mental health
I know
struggles.
a lot of them all admit that they
I
were
signed myself
pushed into
into a
it
residential
in
treatment
their
facility at
schools and when they're
15
young.
years old.
There's
He
actually
was
groomers
diagnosed
out
with
there.
complex PTSD. About a year and a half that took in a hospital
Trans.
every day,
See,
living there.
is it
I
crazy?
got
to
out at
become
16 and a half, and within about 6 or 7 months, I was on my own. I had
There's
massive
actual
body issues,
parents that have like 4 kids,
had
and every one of them they
ego
claim
issues, I
are now
had
trans.
confidence
They're
issues. I
pushing
didn't want
this
to go out to the world
ideology on them so
and
bad.
face being a man. I didn't want to go out into the world and face a lifetime of the bullying that I got during school. I was working as the chipper front desk boy at an Access AIDS clinic. I was checking people in to go see their doctors. And they had therapy next door, free therapy. They have a support group. And I thought, I need to get this figured out. I came from a military family. It was very conservative. I was raised religiously. And I thought it was my duty to join the military.
This is what I was getting
As the
yesterday.
firstborn. Every generation in my family, the firstborn to serve. And
When I was
I
going
wanted to
live,
do that. So I thought I'd get help first, work it out, 18 and sign up to join
they
the
defined
military.
it as
And so I walked into that LGBT
dangerous.
center and asked them,
talking about this
did
subject.
CSA make me gay? Did CSA cause me to like men the way I do? And did CSA give me these body issues? And what they gave me was a framework of gender identity for what was wrong with my body over trauma and childhood sexual assault. I took that framework and I believed the doctors. I believed that all of the suicidal tendencies I had throughout my life, all of the struggles with my body issues, the reason I couldn't fit in with other kids, it all came down to gender. And if I just transitioned, it would get better. And I lived my life based on that lie for about 15 years. Medicalized all the way, removed my genitals, ripped my face off and
But
reconstructed
it wasn't just cutting me off of Facebook.
got married,
It was kicking me
fell in
off
love with the man.
a lot of the
Just at the
platforms.
height of my life.
The live was
When the
just going
trans
dead.
community
It
actually
wasn't giving me
canceled
any
me on the
warning. It was
funniest
just going dead. It was
This thing of
cutting it
Blair
off.
White was funny. Now I'm kind of to the right of Blair White, so it's kind of funny that I was canceled just for thinking he was funny a couple years ago.
The
But
main
I
thing
went
is we
out
got to
there
stop
And I
paying for
started
it,
asking
and it'll
questions
stop
that I'd
happening.
never
It's
asked
when they stop
before.
making the money from
I
it.
started learning about what trans really was. I started listening to people and
They make a lot of a
listening to
lifetime
other
worth of drugs.
perspectives.
Got to give them.
And somewhere along the line,
And
I
surgeries.
realized I had been lied to. I realized that most of those old men in that support group were obvious autogynephiles. They were old men who had wives and children. They'd been in the military. They transitioned at 35, 45 years old. They all mirrored my trauma and told me that they felt like I did when I was a kid. And I was so lucky to be able to do this now. And I went back and I looked at my life.
Welcome
At 33
everyone.
years old,
If you don't comment, I
realized it
can't
was
tell
full
you're
of
here
lies.
because I'm
But
doing it
they
from the
hadn't
computer. I guess
looked for the
people that
why
have
behind gender
use their
dysphoria.
phone
They just diagnosed
for
the gender dysphoria.
Wimkin
They
can tell
diagnosed
who's
a
there, but I
symptom,
can't tell unless you say hi or
collection of
something.
symptoms, but not why I had those symptoms. And now I know why I had those symptoms. I had those symptoms because I tied my body responding to being with a man to sexual trauma. I had literal nails in the chalkboard trauma, feeling my body react when I was with a man. And they told me that feeling was because I was a woman trapped in a man's body. And now I'm a gay man trapped in a transsexual's body. There's no recovering my body. There's no moving forward. There is no real detransition. I'm a gay man married to a man who loves me. And he loves me with the body that I have. What do I have if I don't have that? I can't recover my genitals. I can't date gay men now. I am a gay man trapped in a transsexual's body until the day I die. Because
Now
they
this
didn't
killer-
know the why. And they lied
This
to
killer
me.
had on
They
and killed
trusted the
Donald Trump.
doctors, and they lied to me.
And CNN and them posted that he was a Trump supporter. That he posted something for Trump.
Thank you,
I guess you
Ari.
can't tell the truth.
Our next speaker is Titi Excellensic. She's
I'm
a
very good friends
ex-trans
with her.
re-identified woman with a BA in Gender and Women's Studies and Linguistics
She knows
and
the
an
topic.
MA in Education, Speech,
She's
Language
actually a very good
Pathology.
person too, as well.
After spending over a decade in what she calls the Church of Trans, Excellensic, as she's often called online, lost her faith in her gendered soul, took off her binder, discontinued estrogen suppression, and began dedicating her time to documenting the harms being perpetrated in the name of gender using
Now she's had a lot of harm done to her, bone density stuff and a bunch of other things. It shrinks your brain if you're a woman.
published first-person transition narratives on social media and creating a taxonomy, if I said that right, of the different schools of thought concerning the purpose of transition and the nature of so-called
And she talks about how it causes a lot of these people to do these psycho killing type things that's happening now. It's getting worse because of it.
gender identity. Thank you, Excellensic, for coming. Hi, nice to be here. It was interesting to get the little
You're right, Marianne. And the suicide is often suicide feelings that they're getting is because of all the drugs they're putting them on. It's causing these suicide feelings. And a lot of time it's killing and suicide.
outlet outside.
They want to strike out at someone else.
For the most part. Can you hear me okay?
Marianne.
And so my name, I go by Excellensic online. Real name is Sierra Weir. It's pretty well known now, so don't worry about protecting that privacy. I got into trans in college because
Berkeley.
I experienced a sexual assault, and that led me to want to take a feminist class to put what I experienced in context. And through that class, I ended up getting exposed to gender ideology, and then declaring that as my major, because I still felt like that teacher was the only one who really could put what I experienced into context. So I wanted to pursue that, be more like her. And so I
Yes, this
continued
is the
taking those
lady I had
courses
on
and was
before.
exposed,
And she's been on with
especially
me
in the
about
upper
3
division
times.
classes, to Judith Butler. And then the class which is called
I
Advanced
talk to her
Feminist
once
Theory,
every
by the way.
2-3
But I don't
weeks.
think Judith Butler's a
John.
feminist. I call her a feminist. She's a them. And so that course got me
She's a very good
to
person.
reflecting on my
Totally
whole life
woke up.
certain gender gremlin in our hearts all along.
Some of these
And then
colleges
fully
need to be
people
shut
had
down.
acknowledged the gender gremlin, we wouldn't have suffered the way that we'd supposedly suffered. So, and I did suffer in my life. I had a lot of
The
difficult
pictures I'm
difficulty. And
posting
I won't
are
go
where
into
the
too many of the
guy,
details, but I
the
had a lot
guy
of
was
trauma
planning out how
growing up, and
who
so I was in
gonna
a
go
very
after when he was going to attack the church. His planning.
dark, sad place. At the time, I was exposed to all this, and so it's very much like this is your salvation. This is the way that you can get out of all this pain. This is a way that you can exert control over your life. This is a way you
They
can
give him
control
the
your
drugs,
body.
they get
Because I was still a young
emotional, and
person,
then
I
they
was in
use
my
it
early
on him.
20s, and I was also still growing at the time. And so I went to my physician, and I put forth these ideas, and he
This
agreed to try
dude
and help
knew it
me,
was a suicide mission.
using
among other things, the WPATH standards of care, which advises
Yes,
something
she
called
is sick.
gender vestibular suppression.
She still is very sick from it. It's caused a lot of stomach issues. She has a hard time keeping stuff down. Bone density, it's shrunk her brain. Your actual skull shrinks if you're a woman taking the estrogen depressions and the testosterone. For a woman, it shrinks the brain area for your brain. It shrinks your brain. It gives you headaches and all that kind of stuff, and nausea.
So he kind of
But they'll keep operating
made up
on you.
his own
Don't worry.
protocol. He
They'll make their money
prescribed
and push their drugs
multiple
on you.
things that are used independently at lower doses as birth control, but in my case, it was combined specifically to maximize the side effects. And that's what happened. So as a result of that protocol, my joints were injured along the growth plate. And so essentially what happened is that without estrogen, your growth plates are still open, which sometimes they are, and even into the 20s, especially in the hip and the clavicle and a couple others. That growth plate was held open by the lack of estrogen and by one of the medications being really good at pulling minerals out of it. And so the growth plate's mineralized because calcium is laid down into cartilage, slowly converting it to bone. And before that, it can slip relative to itself.
See, John, she's explaining it right now how it harms women.
And so as a result of that, and the fact
And this even goes way into the 30s.
that these medications were keeping them artificially open longer than they should have been. And then on top of that, the doctors tell you to go to the gym and do weight-bearing exercise to prevent the bone loss that they expect the medications to cause. That's not a good idea if your growth plates are still open to load the joint repetitively. It's just not a good idea. So what happened is that I developed a problem that is
I don't know where they're going to put them all.
It's much more common in men, especially high level athletic men. So it's a developmental problem where in response to an unstable growth plate that keeps being loaded, bone forms around the growth plate, and that resulted in a problem with the head of my femur that then was not addressed because my doctor was incompetent, didn't know what he was doing, even though I brought it up to him, and I brought it up many, many times. And it wasn't until it had severely degenerated the soft tissue around it
They see it as a cash cow. That's why they don't care.
that they finally, in the last few months, even acknowledged that, oh yeah, your bone's the wrong shape. Oops. Yeah, it was caused at the end of your adolescence, right before adulthood, right when you were taking those drugs, right when the game started. Great. So that's where I'm at. I'm waiting on surgery to try to fix one of them, but I don't know how many other things that's affected. Like Layla, I'm in a lot of pain and have been for quite.
Now, this is also caused her a spinal issue in her neck or spinal column. The bone density there is shrunk and it's collapsed the bone things in her neck. And she's not that old.
Quite a while since I was on these medications.
She's in her early 30s.
Anyway, and so I got my degree. I was trying to live with this. I was becoming.
This is also caused so she cannot have any kids. It actually kind of fertilizes you, unfertile.
Progressively more disabled over the years. And then eventually I just got to the point where I didn't believe in it anymore. I'd gotten a lot of therapy, and I had really started to realize that my distress, my social skills issues, my difficulty with my own reflection, my sense of being out of place and alien and not belonging anywhere, that all that did relate back to childhood trauma, especially like my parents divorced, for instance. And all of that is just
a lot of people have
was
parents
just never
that
addressed
divorce.
and never considered
just
because of this
hand out
ideology
pills
of
themselves.
gender gremlin infestation being the real cause of your distress.
Yeah,
and
she's in
that's something where
constant
they will.
Marianne, she's in constant pain. Some days are better than others, but she's always in constant pain because of the joints and all that. And it does cause a lot of joint things. She does a longer segment on this. She'll talk about it.
Attribute basically any other problem and suggest the ideology says that if you can just get rid of the gender dysphoria, everything else is going to resolve and improve, whether that's eating disorders, whether that's depression, and whether that's any number of other problems. And so people who get put on the gender disassembly line are not getting a thorough workup, because if you present with gender issues, that's like, you've got feelings cancer. We gotta hurry. What if it metastasizes? Which is exactly what it does, by the way, because there's so many videos on TikTok of girls saying, I got my chest cut off, but suddenly I have hip dysphoria now. Suddenly I really want to get that phallus sewed onto my crotch. Suddenly I really can't stand some other body part, because they have not been helped to see that there is a pattern. They have not been helped to develop the metacognitive awareness, the awareness of self and your own internal processes to recognize why you are so distressed and the fact that there's a pattern to your distress and your fact that you're fixating on a body part and trying to find the external cause so that you don't have to feel the pain of what you went through. And that's just it's criminal that they're doing this to kids, especially who by their own nature do not have metacognitive awareness because they're kids. And they're especially targeting autistic kids who by their nature, by our nature, do not have the metacognitive skills that are at the age level of the others, which is why they have such a difficult time because socially they're functioning at a lower age. And that's being manipulated.
You have to work with the detransers to stop this from happening to younger kids. We have to work with them because they know a lot about this subject.
And taken advantage of by
And
this
they will
industry,
work with you.
which is preying
Even though they're
on
former
people's ignorance,
leftists, they move over to
piggybacking
the right.
on the general attitude that if you're taking something for birth control, for example, that it can't be causing other problems. But I don't understand how that's the thing, that we have this attitude, how women get so gaslit when they report side effects of these hormones. That the idea is that when they know that you're fine, that they're giving you drugs to a healthy person, they don't consider that the drugs are going to cause a problem, which obviously makes no sense, but that seems to be the zeitgeist. So once you're on the hormones, they're never going to question that. They're never going to think, you know what, all these other problems you develop since the hormones, maybe it has something to do with those hormones, which are acting on the brain, which is another thing they don't really explain. So you've been labeled as gender dysphoric, you've been labeled as terminally mentally ill, and you've been constructed as someone for any level of deterioration and pain and difficulty and disability is fine, because it's to save your life, because you were such a high risk to yourself. And so we're gonna save your life by maiming you, by suppressing your brain function, and no anything you do after that point, any problem you develop is going to be blamed on you, and you're going to get to internalize that.
She says it gives you
I am
anger
so
issues
screwed
too.
up. I have
with
this
a lot
list
of
of
them,
problems, like 12,
these
13, 14,
trans.
15 diagnoses now. And then you go off the hormones and it's just like, I don't seem to have attention problems anymore. I don't seem to be so depressed. I don't seem to be so anxious. Where did my panic disorder go? And so it's just, yeah. Whether you are ready to let go of the ideology, if you are a trans person watching this and you've been on hormones a long time, and you've developed things since you started hormones that you think are due to you and your flawed brain, consider talking to your doctor, because you might not understand truly exactly how these drugs work and what implications there might be to the drugs that you're taking. All right, that's all.
Thank you, Excellence. And our last panelist is Alana. Alana has been challenged by Alana's gender identity Alana's whole life. Alana did not feel congruent with how society told Alana how Alana should be in Alana's body because Alana was born with a penis. Alana has felt a lot of pressure to conform to society's definition of being a woman through gender reassignment surgery. However, through Alana's Indigenous cultural studies, Alana has found a different model for understanding gender as a spiritual journey, which helped Alana accept Alana's unique body without the need to surgically alter it. Alana asks the medical industry to be more
They're messing up our
open-minded
kids pretty
to
bad.
alternative ways for offering
That's part of the plan, I
gender-affirming
think.
care, which may help
Population
people
control.
discover themselves without permanent surgical alterations. And I would like to add that Alana is very brave for coming today, speaking with this audience and with these panelists with a differing view on gender. I really appreciate you coming. Let's welcome Alana.
Indigenous trans perspective. I don't know this person. I take it it's a dude.
Well, welcome everybody.
That thinks
Thank you for
they're
being
a
here.
woman.
This is the portion where we get 20 minutes. Is that-
Sure,
or-
we're ahead of schedule.
We're ahead of schedule. Great. I just wanted to make sure.
Sure.
So I wrote a few notes to myself. I wanted to create a PowerPoint presentation, but I didn't have time. So it would be nice to have slides, but I don't have them. I feel slightly unprepared.
Yeah. Can you turn the mic up again?
Indigenous cultures often share the worldview through story as a narrative, and
Maybe the battery is going out. Okay.
Let me fast forward a little bit.
Quiet here, but it would improve the audio quality on the recording.
Well, we definitely should have Alana amplified.
Yeah. Why don't we? Yeah, we're grabbing batteries for this call.
That's the protesters standing outside giving them a hard time. God, they're always masked.
Pre-show. Davis is for everyone.
Yeah. Thank you for coming. You guys should be in the room listening to our speakers today.
All right, I'm ready to party.
That's Axel Lansing right there by the cop.
Since the pandemic, I like the pandemic.
See, I haven't watched this whole thing. I've seen part of it. You got 3 protesters against him.
Matthew, you ready?
Yeah. Sorry.
Let's all take our seats.
Intermission.
And let Alana have the floor with Alana's presentation.
thank you. I'm back. So yeah, I was talking about stories, and so I'm going to share not only my story today, I'm going to share other people's stories that have profoundly impacted my own sense of self. And I also want to be very grateful to hear everyone else's stories that I have shared today. And in the framework of storytelling, what I want to
So everyone
also
think we need
communicate
God's second coming?
is that hopefully by the end of my time up here, I will have impressed a certain point, and that is we're all on a gender story. Every single one of us has our own unique gender story. And it starts when we're young.
Yeah, I was born
no
a
one
dude.
knows.
Period.
We know what, however we were born, we don't know
End
how
of
we need to
story.
be a man or a woman or a non-binary person, or however we choose to tell our story over time. And so honoring people's stories, I think, is a very powerful thing to do, regardless of what that story is. So that's why I came here today, to honor my story, but also to honor everyone else's stories. And so I wanted to start with the story of when I was in kindergarten, and the teacher, she wanted to teach us how to write our name. And at that point, I had been raised with my middle name, which was Alan at the time. However, she introduced me with this weird different name, Richard. And I'm like, what is this name? She's like, well, that's actually your name, your legal name. And I realized at that point that my parents had been calling me by my middle name because my father's name was also Richard, just made it a little easier for the family. But I was 5, I didn't keep track of those things. I just knew that writing the name Richard seemed like such a chore compared to writing the name Alan, right? And so she puts the, everyone has their pencil. And she's like, okay, well, we're gonna figure out right now who is left-handed and who is
Yeah.
right-handed.
More of it,
And
too. Especially
so
what's
she's like,
happening
all you
in
have to
Europe.
do
It's
is,
really serious over there.
like feel it out for yourself. So I'm there trying to
They're
figure out what
a
I'm
good
left and right
15
and
years
then
ahead of us.
I'm realizing another big thing in my life in this very moment. I have no idea whether I'm left-handed or right-handed. Plus, I also have to write this really long name that I don't even identify myself with, right? So I'm kind of getting frustrated. I'm trying to not do the exercise or the activity because I'm just
Trying to see what the point is
why?
in this.
None of these questions are answered. So she comes to me, she sees me be upset. She thinks I'm upset because I can't tell the difference between left and right or whatever. So she's like, why don't you just do your right hand? Because most people are right-handed. So you're probably right-handed. Okay, so I'm like, okay, that seems
Some
like
people are
a tentatively
ambidextrous.
good solution for the situation. So I start writing with my right hand. I go home, and my father asks me, what did you do at school today? And I say, well, we started learning how to write our name. I discovered that I'm actually Richard. And he's like, oh, yes. And he told me why they made a decision to call me Alan. So I realized there are bigger players at play. There's bigger conversations happening that me as a 5-year-old are not, no one asked me or told me about the situation.
5-year-olds shouldn't be
So I'm learning about
deciding on
myself
this
in
surgery
terms
stuff.
of how
on that.
other people had already decided I was supposed to be or named or whatever, right? And so I also told him that the teacher told me that I should write with my right hand. And what I wasn't expecting was him to freak out about that. He got so upset about this. And I'm just like, well, what's going on? He's like, well, you're most likely left-handed because I'm left-handed and that's passed down. So you're most likely left-handed, he told me. And the fact that she didn't let you explore who you are is really upsetting to me. So here I am, 5 years old, realizing that I have this new name and also realizing that I still don't know which hand to use to write with, right? And so I decided from that point forward, I was gonna write with both hands somehow. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna do both hands. And then maybe one day I'll figure it out. And so over time, I did. And I learned how to write with both hands. But over time, it just became more and more comfortable to consistently write with my left hand. And so at some point, because it just became impractical to write with both hands all the time, I decided to be left-handed. I never told my dad that, but I'm sure he would have been happy, but I ended up choosing that. Now, that was a story about my hands, but I have another story about my hands as well. There was a time after school, I was waiting to get picked up, and there was a cute boy also waiting to get picked up, and he was sad because his parents were late, or I don't know why he was sad, but I was like, you know what? I have compassion for this sad boy. So I went to sit next to him, and I went to hold his hand. And he seemed to be comforted by that, and I enjoy comforting boys. So that's when I first learned that I enjoyed doing that.
But he's a dude.
And then my dad came to pick me up and saw me holding hands with this boy. And he went into a rage once again about my hands. This time it's because I was holding hands with a boy. And he didn't get angry at me. And he didn't get angry at the boy. He got angry at all the teachers in the school that were there watching this terrible thing happen and allowing this thing to happen in front of, like acknowledge or like permitting it to happen instead of, I don't know what they were supposed to do to prevent, this from happening. And so once again, kindergarten me, I keep getting my hands in the wrong places, or just my hands just don't seem to understand what to do properly. And at that point, I decided that it's not safe for me to hold hands with boys because it didn't feel safe at the time. I didn't want to get the teachers in trouble. I didn't want to get the boys in trouble, and I didn't want to make my dad angry because he was a very scary
All
man.
right, I don't see where he's going with this.
Questions at that point. So back to my story. When I started exploring who I really was at age 19, 20, when I started going to college, once I actually felt I had the freedom to discover what my individual sovereignty is, because I was no longer living with my dad, who forbade me from expressing in any sort of feminine way or any way of being homosexual.
I agree, Marianne.
He was always on me.
All right. He's going
And
for
what
the
I
gay
realized is that
line right here.
this like gonads, testicles.
Let's see if I can
I
get to the
started
question and
exploring-
answer. All right. I didn't see the point of him.
Thank you so much, Alana. Can you read that?
Are they gonna go to debate on
Alana,
this now?
thank you for sharing your personal stories. That was very brave to do that in public. Thank you so much. So at this time, we would like to open up the event for question and
Posting
answer.
is slow.
If anybody has any questions?
Yeah,
for the
at least I'm
panelists,
still on for now.
please come up.
But I
We'll
think if
give
I
you
play
a
any of the
and
manifesto,
we will
which I plan to do right after
give
this,
each
or
side
parts of it,
a chance to answer the
I'm gonna try
question.
to
We
pick
ask that
something
your
that they won't
question be
take me down.
brief
with
And we will give the answers 2 to 3 minutes.
this
Does
this
anybody have
sicko
any
that did the
questions?
shooting.
Opposed?
It is so tied to
This is,
the pressure
kind of,
this person,
yeah,
this dude
so-
was put on
Layla,
to
this
be
is for
trans
you.
and stay trans.
How do your parents react now to your detransition and your battles that you have now? So I am assuming that they were supportive to help medicalize you. How do they feel now?
This none of this I've seen, so we're seeing it together.
Yeah, so, you know, my doctors kind of gaslit. Ooh. Um, should I move closer?
I think the cord needs to go in a specific way because it's starting to fray inside, I think. So you just need to like, yeah, I know.
Oh,
there we go.
thank you. So my parents were lied to, deceived, you know, given the dilemma of dead daughter, live son. You know, they were naturally very supportive when you put it in that way, and they thought it was.
They always try to scare you. Oh, your daughter's gonna
Coming
commit
up now, you
suicide.
know, they're utterly devastated that they fell for this and that they have to see me live with the effects. You know, hindsight is always 20/20. So hopefully that kind of answers.
Yes, thank you.
Actually, if you
Does anyone
refresh
else have
the
a question?
page, sometimes it helps, Marianne.
We can form a line right here if you'd like to come up so we can keep it moving.
Hi, this is for Ari. First I want to say how much I enjoyed everyone's stories and very moving. So Ari, I think you mentioned, when you were working at the LGBT center, there were some older men, mainly autogynephile men, kind of, I guess the right word is grooming. I don't know. I was just wondering if you feel comfortable, you could share more about, were they coming on to you, or is it they were just getting a kick out of trying to feminize a young man? And also I'm sorry, I'm so incoherent. I've always gotten the impression that autogynephilic men, for the most part, are attracted to females. And so, I don't know, any way you want to answer. Thank you.
You need more than one mic.
So, let's see. Is it working? Yeah. Okay, cool. So I was homeless. I really needed support. I didn't
Don't
have
say
any
that.
familial support in my life, and I was offered a support group. And you'd go in every other week, and there'd be 15, maybe 20 people who all identified as trans women in this support group. This was almost 20
A lot of
years
them are
ago.
groomers.
This was before the big wave of young people being medicalized. I think the closest person to me in age was 10 years older than me. He was about 27 and balding. He had severe autoandrophobia, so he was constantly torturing himself over looking like a man. He provided me DIY resources, so that's actually how I started medicalizing. The next closest person was about 20 years older than me. These guys would sit there in a floral dress, looking very much like old middle-aged men in floral dresses, and they talk about their
Wearing
gender
beards.
PPs. And they talk about how conflicted they felt and how they wished
They
they
wish they
had
were
done
little
this when they were
girls.
teenagers, and how, well, they didn't regret their military service, but God, it didn't help make them into real men. And I didn't know like the differences between heterosexual and homosexual trans issues. I now have read back through Hirschfeld, and I know that there's been 2 types for males since the beginning, 100 years. We've always split the males who were homosexual from heterosexual. So I, it's hard for me to speculate on the motivations of those men. I think a lot of them were probably lifelong cross-dressers, who came out and decided to medicalize after probably 10, 20 years of cross-dressing and adopted the framework of
It all started a lot
transgenderism
with
and
these drag
transsexualism in
shows.
order to
Drag
define
queens.
themselves. I don't necessarily think all of them were malicious, but I do think that autogynephiles have a propensity for pink pilling, for wanting to see a young man castrate himself, feminize himself. I think there is a
Mary Ann, would they walk in with the women in there to the women's dressing rooms? With women already in there?
Full of motivation for some men to encourage young men to castrate ourselves. I think a lot of men who
lot of them are
have
pedos.
elements of pederasty are
Pedos and
attracted
groomers.
to young men who have been feminized, castrated when we were teenagers. It's something that I experienced, being the victim of a pederast as a castrated young man. And being his beard, his legal outlet for his pedophilia because my body had been feminized. These are things that are very real for me that I didn't really have a framework for conceptualizing until I started asking these questions about what trans really was and removed myself from what I had been taught. And I just wanted to add, after hearing Alana speak, I made all of my life's decisions under this framework that the only solution was to castrate myself, was to medicalize myself, that to do anything else, I would inevitably kill myself. So there's a level of manipulation that occurs when you give someone a framework of suicide or transition. And if they believe it,
Did they get
it feels
arrested, Mary Ann?
hopeless, like you have no other options but to keep walking down that path. And
Not
eventually,
these days.
you're
Back
stuck
then.
in the sunk cost fallacy era. You've gone too far. You can't go back. What do? You have nothing more than to keep going and hope, well, one more surgery, one more operation, and then it'll feel better because that's the framework you've been operating under. And what are you going to do? Just stop now? So you go.
They're
and you remove
salesmen.
your genitals, you
These
remove
ones that are
body
doing the
parts,
surgeries.
you flay yourself, you surgically modify yourself, and nothing makes it better
Plastic
because
surgery.
that wasn't the problem.
Thank you.
Hello.
There you go.
Hello. My name's Michael. First of all, let me just say before I ask a question that I have been a social worker and a school counselor for 45 years. I'm retired, but I'm still working in the schools. And
Are they still
it just
doing it,
blows
Mary
my
Ann?
mind that the norm within the setting that I've worked in different schools has to do with something we don't allow adolescents or even younger adolescents, middle school age kids or whatever.
They wanted to
we
get a
don't
big,
allow
quick
them to
peek,
do
that's why.
for so many other things. That is give their informed consent. They can't get an aspirin. They can't do a lot of things. They can't consent on their own to a lot of things. And yet informed consent regarding this matter seems to be something that is being pushed, advocated, or whatever, that yes, in this case, it's not only possible, it's true, it's real. So, which I find to be absolutely ridiculous, because in a helping profession, whether it's medical or psychosocial or whatever, the standard of care that we've all been told must begin at this point is first, do no harm. You have to begin there. And in doing that, you have to search and delve into so many issues.
If it ever happens again, Mary Ann,
Before
try to
you might
embarrass
even
them
come
in
up with
public.
what is the
next
plan
time.
of action here?
Hopefully,
the
I
question,
haven't
I
run
guess,
into
is
them
to later.
out on the street other than seeing them there.
Were you, when you were in middle school or going into high school, was there anyone who refused to affirm what you were going through, or tell you that, wait a minute, slow down here, this is, or did everybody just grab you and put their arms around you and say, this is, congratulations, you've got a lot of courage for this? Can you comment on that?
Yeah. So honestly, like I grew up kind of relative to this area, right? And everybody was affirming except for like a couple of kids, but
The adults mainly.
yeah, no, the adults were all affirming. My school records were changed over to my male name with not really any hesitation or pause or any difficulty, honestly. So
But were you overwhelmed by any of that? Or
Trump's
was
the first
it
one
like,
that won't let them get
okay, I'm
passports.
okay with this right now. Everybody is
This
is
had to
helping me
happen.
with this and they're making these decisions? Did they kind of go overboard with some of this?
I don't know if I would say that they necessarily went overboard per se, but it definitely was overwhelming, constantly being told, oh, you're studying, you're brave. And I'm just like, I'm just trying to, because that was my framework, was that I have a medical condition that I'm medicalizing and treating myself for, which I did not in fact have apparently. So it kind of felt like just a lot of hug boxing.
Yeah, I see a lot of kids every day when I go in the high schools that I work at. So many of them are
Yeah, no one
confused
told them the
and
truth.
so many of them have no real understanding yet of how to work through some of this stuff. And they're being told over by so many people, no, this is good. It's okay.
When they make a woman
everything
into
is
a
fine.
dude,
Just,
they cut
and
part
how
of
an
their leg
adult
off
can
or
think
part of
that
their
about a
arm
kid,
off,
I
and
don't
use some of the muscle from
understand
that part of their body to make
and the
penis.
worst of all are the doctors. The very people that are there
And
to
then they're
do no
in
harm
constant
have
problems of infection
universally
for the rest of their
affirmed.
lives.
I can understand it, and I just
Yeah,
curious.
a lot of stuff. Thanks so much for your questions. We
I
have.
see a lot of
another
these freaky
question?
people online on the web that have altered their body with plastic
I want to
surgery
thank
for
all of you
ridiculous
for your
amounts.
bravery in coming here, and for your stories. I really appreciate stories, because I do think that that's how we can all start to really understand each other. I don't
That's
believe in the
personal-
binary, because I believe in
personal
all the
testimony.
different shades, because there's so many different angles and ways of looking at things. I also work in the schools. I'm a
Yeah,
high school
Marianne,
public
sometimes
school
to keep them out of
teacher.
those
I'm a Spanish
changing rooms,
teacher.
embarrassment
I
might
think
be.
a lot
If they get
about
embarrassed enough times, they
colonialism.
won't do it again.
And when I was a young woman in Oklahoma, my first communary relationship was with a Kiowa Nation man. I was also very connected with a lot of First Nations people, including one of my roommates for probably 1989 or 1990, famous drag queen Two Spirit out here right now. But back in Oklahoma, he was 19, and he Chickasha, he was Chickasha, one of the remaining 44 Chickasha speakers, and he told me about the Chickasha culture and having this other way to be, and he said we call it the Leaf Woman, which later, many years later, I learned about
It all sounds nice to
Two-Spirit
me.
word that people came up with. But he said in our own
Yeah,
culture,
now
we
they're
call
starting
them
it in
we call them the Leaf Woman, who was often a man with feminine characteristics. They might have a special role.
There's-
Now, in Oklahoma, in
Marianne, there's some that actually believe that you should be able to have sex with kids day of birth. Day of birth.
all of the different Native communities, there was a huge force of Christianity that he believed really was harming people like him. He was at the age where he was coming out as a gay man. And a lot of people at that time were coming out and recognizing themselves because they were a freshman and sophomore in college. And it took a lot because they were not only fighting who they were in, this culture in Oklahoma,
Yeah, a lot of these men
as Native
want to be a young
Americans
little
who had
girl.
escaped a lot of
They
bloodshed
actually would like to
and
be raped. Or
Indian
something.
boarding schools and so forth. They were also dealing with a lot of homophobia in their own Native communities, which once upon a time, many years before, might not have held that homophobia.
You were
Might
the one
have
going to
had
get
more
reported?
indigenous ways of seeing different sexualities and gender presentations. And so he made it his life's
Muslim,
work
huh?
to work through the First
For
Nation
to be a
communities
Muslim.
and change
Yeah,
that
Muslims
narrative so
they
that there
marry
would be
like
place
6-year-olds
for
and stuff
Native
like that.
kids like
Ridiculous.
him
The young.
to be gay, to be lesbian, to be bisexual, to be homosexual. Today, I see in my youth so much of a push and a social contagion on TikTok in the curriculum that we're non-binary in a binary way, that we must medicalize. My own son believed that he needed to medicalize when he was going through his own explorations. They see
They're harming
the
their body and
drug,
making tons of money.
really
Billions
see
of
this
dollars.
as a new form of colonialization that's not only going to hurt, I mean, that's hurting Native kids. I know that it's particularly bad on female Native Americans that are in foster care. They're like one of the highest groups in Canada that seek medical transition, likely because they have been sexually abused and seek escape from their bodies. And I look at this as this huge problem now of a new form of colonialization that's coming from the West once again and being farmed out across the world to transform these different cultures that may have ways of understanding their gender nonconforming children or ways of acknowledging and including their gay humans and their tribes and their groups. And now they're all going to believe that they need to be medicalized using Western medicine. I guess my question
Not accepting
is mostly
your
for you, Alana.
real gender.
How do you think about that? I see this as a new form of Western colonialization.
I don't see it as
indigenous cultures
colonialization. I
worldwide.
see it as messed up leftists. It wouldn't be coming from the right, that's for sure.
Yeah, thank you for asking that question. A big part of my journey has been to decolonize myself in terms of my own worldview, and in order to actually accept and appreciate my
Way to
indigenous
feel like
heritage.
a man or a woman.
I see colonization as
I think as you grow up as kids and you start playing sports,
generally
you kind of figure out what you are.
an authoritarian construct which tells people what they need to believe or do for themselves from the top down. And so it could
You got a
be,
penis, you're a dude.
And it could be anything, but basically
Figure it
colonization is the disruption of individual sovereignty. And so whether it's your cultural heritage or your gender identity, or just it's the pressure to not believe in your own ability to self-determine, either self-determine who you are in terms of your gender or the language you speak, in order to submit to a higher authority, a governmental authority. And so that's what colonization looks like to me. And so I think colonization is at play here. I think the medical industry itself, it has been, it's part of a colonial society ancestrally, and it still operates that way, where
they want to take kids away from parents. The government, these leftists want to raise the kids.
if it believes it knows what
They
is
don't
best
aren't
for
having
its
their own
population that it's serving, it will force itself on the
Not so much.
population through diagnosis, through whatever. But what it's really doing is it's just employing this "I know better than you" mindset, which is what all colonizers have always felt when they came in, to push their worldviews on the people that they colonize. And maybe we're experiencing that internally now, where the colonial systems of our ancestors are now being applied to
I don't buy any of that bullshit.
to the descendants of those that were
locked in a mental institution. And Magnus Hirschfeld and Havelock Ellis thought of this as a way of medicalizing us into heteronormity. And it's funny because the trans community constantly talks about the risk of suicide. And if you actually look at the Aliyah or the ELSA, or various
drugs
different
are
third
putting-
categories in indigenous
They're
culture,
putting them on as
one thing
causing
you
them
don't see
the
them doing
suicide
is killing
tendencies.
themselves if they don't get to cut off body parts. That's a thing of Western medicine.
I have a question actually for Alana. You mentioned personal sovereignty and also that children have personal sovereignty themselves. I'm curious if you are for or against gatekeeping for hormones and surgeries, and if so, what type of gatekeeping would you be in favor of? And do you think that children should go down that pathway, first of social transition and then medicalization? And with adults, should there be more of a gatekeeping process so that we have less detransitioners?
Yeah, I thought. This mic is.
The mic is calling us.
Okay, yeah, so, you know,
Move closer.
this,
I can hear him. I don't know what's going
this,
on.
Ignore the service outside.
so this conversation
They're
is.
trying to come in
I
and get
think-
violent with him. That's what
Close
they're
the
trying
door,
to do.
please. Can we have the door closed, please? Close the door, please.
Guys, if you want to go out there, go out there, but.
Either stay in or go out.
Can we have the door closed, please?
We're not here. Unlike some people.
Thank you for closing the door.
Oh,
Appreciate
I'm
it.
sorry, was it too soon? Oh, yes, we did.
After you can engage, but right now we're having a civil conversation.
Thank you. Yeah, so this is a very complex question for me, because as a healer, I also work with a lot of people that are youths that started using drugs really early. And being on a drug journey is a similar way of discovering who you are. And sometimes people that start smoking weed at like 12, 13, whatever, they have permanent problems when they're in their 20s and 30s.
That's the video
because,
itself.
they didn't develop their emotional capacities well enough. And so I think this is part of a bigger question in terms of what it means to develop personal sovereignty. I think it is a developmental process. It took me, and I'm still like discovering myself. I think it's a lifelong process. I know personally if at 12 or 13, if I was asked if I wanted to surgically alter my body, I wouldn't have been prepared to really answer that question. I'm still not prepared to answer it now at 35. So I guess I don't really have a straightforward answer.
It's really what you get in this plastic surgery.
To assume that
You're not really changing
12,
yourself.
13-year-olds know what's best
Who you are.
to do with their bodies. However, I also believe that they are aware enough at some point to start just knowing that there's something different going on for them, that there's something there for them to explore, and whether that's pronouns or fashion or different ways of allowing them to do that. I think there's room for exploration that's safe. And so I want to discover what that is for them. And I guess I'll leave that at that. There's such safe ways of discovery that need to be established, because I feel like that's where the medical industry can really take advantage of youth that don't feel like there's a safe way for them to really know who they are, and then they're told that this is their ticket out of their suffering. So I think that definitely could be a problem.
So I'm gathering
Good point,
from your
Marianne.
answer that you are in favor of
Actually, one of the
gatekeeping,
people
more
on this
gatekeeping,
panel has
more,
found that has changed.
time.
Found God since then.
Definitely
One that
there
went
was
through
more
the
time,
surgery.
but that's based on my personal experience. And there are other folks that have
Ari?
transitioned early, and their stories are a little different. So I can't, for myself, I think that would have been best for me. But I can't necessarily know what's best for everyone.
Thank you for your answer. Do we have any more questions?
Yeah, sorry. This is actually for
Actually,
everybody,
John,
but
your
it was
body-
triggered by something else on this side.
Actually, your body up until 30 is still changing, believe it or not. Exolancic says, that even if you get into stuff before 30 on a lot of these things, you're harming your body.
You said that you had some unhappy
18 might be the age
relationships,
you can make the
or they
decision,
were happy to some degree, but they weren't completely
but it's still
fulfilling.
harmful.
And then you found a man who treated you like a woman. So for you, that might feel like a spiritual thing because he was connecting to your spiritual belief about yourself. Does that make sense? That's sort of how I interpret by everything that you said. But for a lot of other people, that would simply be a someone who was treating you in a stereotypical female manner, or treating you as in a stereotypical way. If we're not going to look at it from a spiritual point of view, And I'm wondering for you and for everybody else, how much not feeling comfortable with sex stereotypes or not aligning with sex stereotypes, maybe would be the better way to put it, that you felt pressured to conform to. How much or how little that affected you, and at what point in your journey it was important, if or not. Does that make sense?
I'm not entirely sure if I understand the question. Something about conforming to sex stereotypes. So there is a, okay, let me see if I can understand your question.
I can ask it again. I can say it again.
Yeah, say it
It
again.
was a little long. Yeah, yes, I completely agree with you. But how you interpret yourself, and does that make sense for everybody else?
Yeah.
This
It's always interrupting.
Not
Matt.
getting
Oh, we've
anywhere.
got 20 minutes, so maybe if the other people want to answer that.
Does anybody else want to chime in?
Yeah, I guess in relation to being treated like a woman, when I was 17, this was applicable in the sense like, I was a weird kid. I was walking around with romance novels in middle school, had a little sachet in my walk. I was quiet, a little shy. And I used to crack this joke that the last time I got punched in my face for being a sassy faggot was 15 years ago when I started injecting estrogen and wearing dresses. And that's a reality. I got to opt out of being a gay man. I got to opt out of all of the shitty men who treat effeminate gay men like absolute dog shit. I got to opt out of being punched in the face for being sassy. I got to opt out of being 5'5" and scrawny. Men started getting the doors for me. Men stopped hitting me in the face. Like, I got to wear all the pretty things and nobody criticized me for it. And from that, doctors took a look at the happiness that I had. Because this was 20 years ago. Back then, they didn't just give you like a 1-hour therapy session. Oh, you're dysphoric. No, back then it was a year. It was psychologists. It was therapists. It was cross-dressing, to be quite frank, like lived experience, presenting that way. And so when I was 17, I went from a family where I didn't get to pick out my own clothes. I was wearing suits as a kid, like think Mormon, but Roman Catholic. And I went from that to the doctors being like, well, you can do whatever you want. You want to go get your nails done? You want to wear those booty shorts you've been hiding from your mom? Go ahead. Like, you're a girl now. Try to live like a girl. And of course, there was a lot of positives to that. I didn't get punched in the face anymore. Men opened the door for me and I got to wear whatever the fuck I want. Excuse my language. So being treated like a woman for me as a teenager was getting to opt out of the oppression of being a gay man.
John, I'm just going by what talking to Axel Lansek, and she talks about the physical body, what they're doing to him, harming him, especially the women when they put him on testosterone and stuff like that. It's totally harming. But even the men.
But don't you think that's sad?
Oh, it's really sad. That's why it's anti-gay eugenics. Transition is anti-gay eugenics. That was the mindset it was thought of in the 1900s.
Any more questions?
Hi, my name is Lilith. I actually already know Ari. And I have a question for the detransitioners on the panel. Because I, a detransitioner myself, feel that the medical industry and insurance companies really push medicalization instead of therapy or trying to figure out any other underlying medical or mental health condition that there may be in the individual and especially in children. So I want to know if you guys have similar thoughts on that type of stuff, whether you're detrans or not.
Yeah, I feel like it was really not that accessible to get consistent enough therapy, especially on a basis that I needed with Kaiser, especially towards the years closer to my detransition. But even before that, back when they're having the mental health care shortages,
I agree.
And employees and workers, I really do believe that they just really push for medicalization as an easy fix. You know, it's profitable for them. But, you know, one issue, and I meant to touch on this earlier, but with this whole form of healthcare is that it's experimental. They don't know what they're doing to an extent. It's kind of just winging it. You know, even now, when I seek detransition related care, a lot of doctors shrug. You know, if I go to the ER and they ask me for my
You
past,
can't really totally do
medical
detrans,
history, medicine use in the past.
There is
and
no
I
real
honestly tell
fixing
them
this.
testosterone. They don't know what questions to ask me. They're just at a loss. You know, they don't want to get canceled and ask, but they also are not, you know, doing a quality job and properly assessing certain aspects of my health as needed. You know, not to ramble on, but I even went to a fertility specialist and I had almost 2 months worth of blood draws and I still couldn't get a definite yes or no that I'm infertile. So sorry to kind
Most
of
likely.
So yeah, I wanted to add that, you know, I'm an epileptic. I started having very severe seizures around 19 years old. I always had micro seizures in my sleep, but a couple years into transition, I started having grand mal. I was disabled for about a decade because of that. And because I had such terrible seizures, I couldn't take the ultimate treatment, the end to the path, the removal of the genitals, the surgeries. I couldn't have them. So at 25 years old, I had a cascade of intervention because spironolactone was causing liver damage. And they gave me the choice of detransition or have some kind of bottom surgery, but I couldn't have bottom surgery. So I had a black market orchiectomy. Fast forward a
Does
couple
anyone
years,
understand
and I
what
moved all the
what
way
he's
across the
saying?
country. I used the cannabis industry on the West Coast to put my
I
seizures
don't
into
totally
remission.
follow it.
Went back to school, got off disability, got a job, and I thought, I need to get some therapy. And I was in EMDR therapy for the childhood sexual assault. My therapist discontinued my therapy after 6 months and told me it was
In the military?
destabilizing my identity as a trans woman and to focus on my happiness as a trans woman. And then the trans identified female who had been giving me therapy for years wrote
When
me a
Mike was
letter for
in, they were
sexual
pushing the
reassignment
trans stuff.
surgery. So yeah, no, they don't really care about treating the why. They just care about profiteering off of surgeries that cost hundreds of thousands of
Two
dollars.
kids too, huh? I hope the military definitely kept them out of the guys' barracks and the women's barracks.
Block anybody. In the live stream, I think we were both at Kaiser Oakland, right? Yeah.
See how she has to walk with a cane now? She's not that old that should need a cane. It's her bone density has gone way down, and the harm it's done to her spinal cord and her neck and all that kind of stuff. It's been done by the drugs they put her on to try to make her into a male, which she's not.
Yes, Leo and I were at the same gender.
Constant
people.
pain.
I was, I think, a few years before you. I was in like 2000.
She has to take pain pills all the
You're
time,
right.
and that has side effects too.
Yeah. So I was a young adult. You were pediatric, so it wasn't quite the same, but it was the same like hospital and culture. And yeah, they really, for me, they didn't put me in any kind of therapy, and in fact, they didn't really have therapy as an option. You could try to get on a wait list. You might get one session like every other week for a few weeks, and then they would often discharge you. So there was no real like look into my history and why I wanted to do this so much, and what was driving my intense negative moods that I felt I had. Which looking back, I actually don't think I was that moody before they put me on the drugs. I really wasn't. I didn't have panic disorder diagnosis until they put me on the combination of hormones. I also Ari started having seizures on hormones. And I did have a family history of that. So it wasn't entirely due to that, but these hormones all do change seizure thresholds. And so if you have a subclinical seizure disorder and go on these drugs, it can absolutely bring it out. And they will not necessarily connect the
And they don't care as long as they can make a ton of money on them.
dots, even though they're very obvious. They'll tell you that, oh, it must be because of your childhood trauma that we never addressed before we put you on these drugs. That's what's causing the seizures. Through the magic of the psychology gremlin, they can also do things somehow, be the uncaused cause, be the prime mover in your mind, and make your body move with no cause of its own. No, it's you put me on a drug that changed the seizure threshold, and therefore I was over the seizure threshold more often. And so I too am in remission now, thankfully. But that did destroy my life for a few years. And I don't talk too much about it because I'm still dealing with the emotional trauma of that whole time. That was very, very distressing to try to get them to see it as a physical thing. And they just wouldn't. They'll keep adding diagnosis after diagnosis after diagnosis, but they will never question the fact that they put you on a drug that's directly suppressing your brain. And it's because they know that the other problems that it will create are profitable and they can keep selling you more stuff. So a lot of unfortunately, there's a perverse incentive in modern medicine to not fix things, to not diagnose things, to not treat things, and to gaslight patients so that they are desperate by the time they're in your office.
And they don't want to admit
they
they're wrong to start with.
We have a few more minutes. Question?
It's a bit of a question, a little bit of a comment, with the forum. I really, really appreciate your guys' stories as well. I have been feeling like I'm on the front lines in the Bay Area with a friend of mine. And I just want to know if you guys are aware, I'm sure you're hearing stories of children being forced transition earlier and earlier. My friend's child was being forced transition by the mother. And since then, because of that situation, I've been hearing this more and more at the age of 2 and 3. And in order to document it was causing a rift, the child was taken to a transgender clinic in the Bay Area with symptoms of incontinence and some other PTSD symptoms. And because they were at a gender clinic, instead of having a objective view of the child and potentially looking into some abuse, that the psychological abuse that was going on at home and being mandated reporters, I say, if you go to a surgeon, they're going to want to do surgery. If you go to a gender clinic, they're going to want to transgender a child. And so this mother was getting it in the medical record and then took the child to a transgender therapist who one of you mentioned in the first hour.
It pushes this crap.
They
talk them into
diagnosing
it. They
the
talk
child.
the parent into it.
And so since then, other stories, other people that we've met that have had the same issue with their children coming forward. So I'm just wondering if you guys have any comments on perhaps any black and white laws that you feel strongly about that should be put in place to protect these children. This daycare was complicit, CPS was complicit, Communicare licensing has been complicit. I could go on, and it's been really, I was an adoptive foster mother here in Yolo County, and I have seen the changes go on. I was told recently by a fellow foster mom that they give children as young as 7 and tell them not to tell them what they're, don't force anything, which I'm all for hearing their stories and helping them explore themselves and get to know themselves. But just wondering if you guys have any hard and fast rules that you think would, based on your
Definitely
experience.
nothing before 18.
I'm going to paraphrase. Is your question to the panel, are they for gatekeeping, more gatekeeping on children?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm all for gatekeeping children. I believe that they should, instead of seeing a gender therapist, get qualitative mental health care, full diagnostic panel ran up. I have a lot of signs of trauma that were missed even by that would be caught by my general practitioner, such as really frequent UTIs, which is a signifier of childhood sexual assault. So even things like that can't be missed. But yeah, no, for sure, no hormone surgeries at least until 18, 19 at the bare minimum.
I'm for shutting down transition like the southern border. I want to ban it for children and for adults. I think the medical system should have a clue this is even remotely necessary. I don't believe in hacking hardware to solve a software problem. This is unethical until the day that they can prove that it is necessary and they can accurately diagnose whichever demographic it's necessary for. It should just be shut down while we figure it out.
Yeah.
I think that the stories of detransitioners are extremely important at this time, especially because they give us awareness to the broader impact of these situations. And so that's why I'm here and I want to support this sort of work because it provides a bigger picture of what the true impact can be. And I also want to invite the stories of transitioners that have found.
John, was that the one with the little 11-year-old boy that they were trying to make a girl and dancing in the nightclubs, strip clubs? Is that the one you're talking about, John?
Happiness in these processes and
I think I've seen it.
figure out what the difference is because those stories are also real and they're also happy for who they are. So that's what I'd like to say.
To answer your question, I mean, in general, yes, like doctors are there to gatekeep. That's the point of that's why we don't let people just buy whatever over the counter and self-medicate. But in terms of the strict policy changes, strict laws, I think that binding arbitration should be absolutely illegal in medical context, especially for children. They sold her rights. They sold her rights.
Yeah.
As a child, they shouldn't be allowed to do that because then what is the incentive to not screw up? There should be no limits on what juries can award people for this kind of medical harm. We have to get rid of that. We need actual tort reform to get rid of it. And I'm also thinking that we need to get rid of some of the untimed codes because that gives doctors an incentive to get you out as fast as possible. And then they're not. That's why they're not doing the real assessments. Thank you. We have a few more minutes.
Hi, my name is Dorota Jensen. I had a question for all of you, and it's kind of a big topic, so I don't know, maybe you can come back again. I do have a page back there on the table. It says for people to fill out if they like. It says,
Yeah, they were giving
comments for
cash
this
too,
event,
right?
and then on the other side,
$dollar bills.
ideas for future events.
Man.
So interesting, all of
That
you.
kid's
If
gonna be
you ever
messed up
want to
for
come
life.
back and talk more, but this was a big topic, I
So
think.
messed up.
What about the social aspect when you were starting to get into your
Parents
journey
are
of
responsible for that as
medicalization
well.
or
In that
learning
case.
about yourself? What kind of friends did you have? And then as you took a different road, did you lose those friends or did you get new friends? Or or certainly about your family as well, if you had a family? Because it seems like most people need support. And I just wonder, did anybody disown you along the way? Or, I mean, it's just, I was wondering, and it's such a big topic, but I do hear that once you detrans, then you get thrown out of the trans community, or I just wondered, any thoughts about that?
Oh, they're mean to them. They call them TERFs. TURFs.
I will say I did not get disowned when I came out as trans, although it did strain some extended family relationships. Likewise, so to detransition, actually, it put kind of the same strain on it all over again. I don't believe social transition is a neutral act. It's just one step on the way towards solidifying the feeling that they need to medicalize. So.
By the time my mother found out that I was transitioning, I was already several years into transition. She told me that I felt this way because of what he did to me. I told her, no, Mom, you're wrong. The doctors promised me that wasn't possible. She said, why can't you just be a gay man? And I said, because I'm a straight woman. And we didn't talk for a decade. When I came out as having regret, when I started asking questions, I was canceled and doxxed by Antifa and lost all of my friends. So I've been ostracized on both sides. I lost my family when I transitioned, and then I lost the cult when I detransitioned. And
it is a cult.
I just wanted to add something that I think I might have left out. I didn't have gender dysphoria when I walked into the LGBT center, but I had it when I left.
John, do you think the parents took all the tips the kid was getting to?
But because I was taught that I was a woman
it?
in a man's body, I started obsessing over my appearance with that finicky gay brain that needed every curl to be perfect. And I left with gender dysphoria. I don't have it now because I accepted myself as a man. Cross-sex ideation can be taught, and cross-sex ideation causes gender dysphoria. They are making patients by teaching them this.
I agree. Totally agree with that. By pushing it on them,
Yeah, so
sort of like socialism.
to answer your question, I feel like that's a very important question to ask because the people that you're surrounded by definitely have a big impact on your worldview. And in my experience, all of the people in my life have helped me get to where I am, even the ones that didn't want to support me or love me because they had certain ideas of
I
who I
agree.
should be. And because in pushing
Also, probably the little kid will end up going to other clubs, and there'll be a headliner at the other clubs, and it's prestige for these parents and stuff like that. They want the fame.
back against them, I also discovered who I was through that.
I'm going to try to play the
However, I
manifesto
also
after this.
feel like
Part
there's
of it.
there's
Some
a
of them.
big power play
I'm going to try to pick the ones that are
at
least
play when
likely
you're
to
dealing
be
with
blocked after this.
industries like the education system or the medical industry. Those relationships aren't the same as family and friend relationships or community relationships because they have authority to medicalize you or like to diagnose to you, to tell you, you know, what they think is in your best interest somehow. And they can even like if you are suicidal or you're feeling like you're going to harm yourself, they have authority to send you to a mental institute. Like that there's that's a very different relationship and there's a power dynamic like that. And then I feel like that's a big piece of what has been brought up today is how we relate to these systems of authority when they tell us that we need to do something, and we may not know how to evaluate that for ourselves.
So in my case, I had gender issues, like even when I was a young child, I would have a lot of anxious preoccupation about whether people would see me as a girl or see me as a boy or were judging me as a girl or would think I was less than a boy in some way. I mean, I had a lot of anxieties growing up. But then when I came out as trans, my family kind of, I mean, my mom didn't want me to continue and do anything else. She's like, you know, it's okay to do this sometimes, but like, don't like make a pursuit of it. And so I just did it without telling her.
That's a boy.
Doing the hormones and stuff and continuing. And
But
so she was aware of like that.
a lot of pedos that
Otherwise,
do, like,
I don't
young
know
little
exactly
boys.
how much my extended family
It
thought
happens a
about
lot
it. I
in the
never got
Muslim
like
community,
told I
actually.
shouldn't do it by anyone else. And it was actually only when I started having really deteriorating mental health, about at that point, it was about 7 years on the hormones, like 3 years on the combo hormone, where they had the two progestins at the same time. And I had started developing other problems, and then that led to even more medication, that led to more problems and more medication. And it was a really vicious cycle. And so at one point during that, I actually just felt like I needed to completely withdraw
See all
socially.
the
And so
harm
I
they've
kind
done
of
to
stopped
her?
talking to my family for a little while, and just really withdrew and tried to cope with a lot. And then coming out of it has really helped me see the value of
She can't be a
of
mother,
strong
a
family
grandmother,
relationships.
ever.
And so I've been able to reconnect with them and repair to the extent possible. And so I do have a very, very strong relationship with them now, despite the fact that the difficulties of my childhood did contribute to all this. And so I do think forgiveness and moving forward is possible. But it does, when you come out and then when you change your mind and have to be like, yeah, just kidding, you guys. I guess I am a flawed human who's infallible after all. Who knew? It's hard. It's hard. And it's a waste of time is the unfortunate part.
So we're at the end of the event. We're going to give all of the panel 1 minute for their closing remarks, and then we will be closing this space. Thank you again for showing up and supporting everybody who came to speak today. I think they're very brave. Layla.
Yeah, so in closing, I'd like to say, you know, there's no wrong way to be a boy or wrong way to be a girl. You know, let boys be feminine, let girls be masculine, and we should not be medicalizing children because of that. Because what happens
There
is
is
you end up with
tomboys, you
more
know?
people like me, more detransitioners that, you know, a
lot
lot
of
of
times you
people,
grow out
especially
of
the
it.
ones out there, are really tiresome seeing. So
stop medicalizing children if you want to see less of people like me.
We love you very much. Thank you so much. Ari.
Yeah, so in closing, I guess I'd like to say that trans is anti-gay eugenics. It was invented in the early 1900s by intellectuals who saw homosexuality as sexual inversion. Their viewpoint on being gay was fundamentally homophobic. They thought that effeminate gay men had elements in us that were womanly, and that masculine lesbians had elements in them that just were closer to men. And that the only way for us to exist in fascist Europe was to medicalize our body into heteronormative life. So what we have today is an anti-gay eugenics program that's been latched onto by autogynephiles who have spun out an ideology around gender in order to perpetuate their lies. And they have seized the medical system, they've seized academia, and they're pushing the castration of kids under the guise of gender, when in actuality, it's all just paraphilia and mental illness.
Right on.
I'd like to say how grateful I am to be here and how much I've enjoyed this this panel, this conversation. I think more of it needs to be had. I have an immense amount of questions for people that have diverse experiences from mine. And I am here to honor the diversity as much as possible. I don't think a one-size-fits-all solution is possible, and I think people really need to dig deep into themselves to really discover what their truth is, and that's not something that necessarily the medical industry can do for you. And so I think the gender journey is a deeply personal transformation that everyone has to go through. I don't necessarily think that there's anything wrong with anyone. Nothing to be medicalized or, gender dysphoria is not a disease. It's not necessarily a problem.
It's a mental
It's not something that
illness.
needs to be corrected, but it does need to be held and explored and figured out in other ways.
It's also pushed on them.
Thank you guys so much for coming. I really appreciated being able to speak today. And so I guess my last closing thought is just that there's no such thing as a free lunch. And so if you're being offered a free lunch, you have to understand that you're going to be paying for it some way or another. And so if you don't have to quote Jess Ting, who personally helped to castrate Jazz Jennings as a minor and did one of his revisions, as I recall, he said, if you don't have to cut that, why would you cut that? During the surgery when they were debating about whether to keep cutting Jess. And I just think that that's such a powerful statement, and I wish that they would apply that to the rest of their life, because you don't need to cut someone just because they have gender distress.
I would like to thank everybody who came out today. I'd like to thank Beth Boring for giving us
I mean, in that part right there. All right, I'm going to play a little short clip of his manifesto thing, but if I get cut off, you know that it's the internet, so it's not me. Here we go. I'm going to play a little part of there was a 20-minute manifesto, and I don't want to play that because I guarantee you actually I'll be kicked off. But there's a 2-minute version here that I think I might be able to get away with. Here we go. Now, a lot of this is written in some other language or something. It's not even total English, not all of it. A lot of symbols and crap like that, So, I don't know. I hope this doesn't get me kicked off of YouTube or Facebook or any of those. This person was really sick, and they knew about it. It was on social medias, and they were warned about it. Something like 24 times they looked at this person that did the shooting. I don't know if anyone in the chat knows any more about this and what I'm talking about. Yeah. Thanks, Marianne. Yeah, I thought it was. I haven't actually watched the whole thing there. Heartbreaking to see now. They're killing our kids, and I think it's intentional too. They want that. I feel sorry for Sierra Exelancic there. I do talk to her. I've talked to her when she was in a lot of pain too. There's times when sometimes talking while she's in pain helps. It's written in Russian. Yeah, it looks. And some of the R's are backwards and stuff on it. It's weird, you know. I'm so sorry. At the end, you know. All right, I'd play more, but I'm worried about getting kicked off right now. We'll see if it stays that way, you know. All right, I'm gonna play a couple of the other sickos and stuff like that. Here we go.
The Denver shooter was trans, the Aberdeen shooter was trans, the Nashville shooter was trans, the Georgia shooter was trans, the Philadelphia shooter was trans, the Uvalde shooter was trans, the Colorado shooter was trans, and now the Minnesota shooter was trans. I think one of the things that you see being pointed out by the Walsh types is that even if there is no clear ideology, there is something in the water with the untouchable nature of the trans identity until just the past really year that you could even talk about it frankly, and what appears to be a kind of underlying mental instability that tends to disproportionately give rise to these school shootings.
Absolutely. Now this video, I labeled it, "This is child abuse." Watch this.
This will be the one I've waited for. This will be
Isn't it sick? Doing that to your son? Ridiculous. Here's a dude, mental illness.
Angry.
101.
Go out, buy a gun. It's okay to be angry.
Get out of my face now!
If you try to stop me from going into a woman's bathroom,
Excuse me, it's ma'am.
be the last mistake you ever make.
It is ma'am.
Find that anger,
Just because people,
harness it to do good in the world.
John, would you ever want to come on with Sierra? If you want to, I could maybe set that up, you know. He's totally probably willing to come on. She's a little busy, but she's on California time, so often late is the time when she could do it.
This anger
you guys not accept
John, man.
We can just make a batch and say that some of us.
Yeah.
Well.
anger is probably
they're
my
using
primary
the kid.
source of motivation.
You want to call me sir again? The thing is, you don't have to leave. You will lose your bed.
For everything that I do.
Cut that out now, or you'll go home in an ambulance.
I would dare him
Call to action or call to arms.
This is how mentally ill they are.
Don't be afraid to show your anger.
That's them on the left.
Hey!
Mental illness. There's a deranged man who thinks he's a woman.
Friends, less fun video today than I would have hoped.
Like, you can't tell this is a dude?
I found out that Donald Trump used me and my gorgeous friend Dylan in his most recent advertisement, and I saw it. And I kind of fell apart. And I didn't want to tell you that because I didn't want to look weak. And it's like, oh my God, that's so stupid. I cry on the internet all the time. Like, why is today any different? Because it is different. Because it's personal, and it's also different because I fear for the safety of our community. And I didn't want to share this either, but I think it's important. I felt shame about being trans, and I felt shame about being public about my transness and being, bubbly and fun and loving life. And I thought, oh, maybe if I were just different, then maybe I wouldn't have failed my community in this way. And I know in my heart that that's not true. And I know that if it wasn't me, it could have easily been somebody else. And my individual personality is not representative of all trans people. I am not representative of all trans people. I'm,
Kids, huh?
one non-binary
I'll look
person
at 'em
trying to do
later,
their fucking best. And I know
Well,
that
it's
they
25
want
minutes long,
me
okay.
and people
I'll look
like
at it
me,
later,
people
John.
like you, if you're trans, to feel shame about our transness. That is a goal they want to eradicate
Yeah,
us.
I agree,
And if they
Marianne.
make examples of people
he
like
should
me
come
and my
on with,
gorgeous friend Dylan, then they
Sarah.
are one step closer to that eradication.
Excellent.
And
I have a hard time
the
saying
thing
that
I
name.
feel more than shame or embarrassment or that I failed the community, because I know those things aren't true. The thing that I feel is this intense passion in my gut that says this work is not over and we have work to do. And my
I got a little story to tell everyone. Exelancic helped me with a young girl who was 13 going on 14 whose mother in California, I won't say any names, was being pushed to become a boy. And the girl at 13, turning 14, didn't want this to happen. In fact, it was right through here, through Winkin, actually. And so Exelancic through me was talking to her, and she ended up finding another family that would host her, and she ran away from home in California because the mother had taken the daughter from the father and was going to have her start on the hormones, the male hormones, and all this and that. This girl was a good athlete. She was like 5'10", you know, and 5'10", 5'11", something like that. Pretty tall and a good athlete, but she didn't want to play in the male sports. And so she ended up moving in with this other family, run away. Won't say where or anything like that or mention names. Maybe they're watching. I don't know. Anyways, it's saving her life. When she gets to 18, then it won't matter. But in California, the one parent can take the kid and have this happen to him. So that happened right through Winkin, actually.
God, do we have to do it? I mean, like, above all else, we have to love each other harder. I mean, this presidential campaign is going to be, I'm just predicting it's going to be horrible. Not only for James personally, maybe for me personally, who the fuck knows, but for trans people. And we are going to have to hold each other in community tighter than ever. And my only goal
It's a cult. It's a cult on the left.
Knowing that, like, I loved trans people in my community as hard as I could, and I did everything I could have to further our acceptance, to further trans equality, that I used every possible opportunity to say I love trans people, and we are beautiful, and we are wonderful, and we are part of the fabric of society that makes life worth living, because my life is worth living. It does not feel like it in this
It
moment.
is,
when
but
the
you
President
don't get
of
in
the
that
United States is
messed
using my
up
videos
cult,
against
that's
my will
why.
as an ad campaign to anti-trans stuff. But I know that my life is worth living, and I know that every
Stop trying
trans
to
person is worth living
trans
too.
and kids.
And I want you to know that no matter how hard they attack us, I will always love us
Grooming
twice
kids.
as hard, and I'm not the only one. So that's my not fun video. Hug your trans family tighter today. I just got off the phone with Jordan. They helped me. They made me look into the sun and breathe happy thoughts because I was a wreck. So I love you.
He is a wreck. Now, here's one that's supporting the shooter.
So I'm currently walking home from open house, and I really quick wanted to address the situation that happened this morning at a local Catholic school. I don't know any of the kids. I don't know any of the parents. I don't know any of the teachers. I don't know anybody from the situation. But one thing that I'm already seeing is that, and I know people are going to come at me, and you know what? I don't care. Just by the way, we cannot misgender the shooter. Okay?
She's worried about misgendering the guy that did the shooting.
I'm not a professional by any means when it comes to gender, but I've done enough research. I've also spent plenty of time with people that are trans.
Trees, huh?
And we cannot,
John.
we should not, and we will not misgender them. We do not misgender somebody just because they did something wrong. The last time I checked, we haven't misgendered any
Some of them think they're
white males.
lizards and
we're also
cats and everything.
We need to talk about the mental health issue.
Yeah,
Goodness
the mental
knows we need
health
to talk about the mental
is
health
the
issue.
trans issue.
But we're also not formally blaming people with disabilities. We're not blaming people with disabilities, and we're not blaming trans people for what happened.
Yes, we are.
This was the actions of one
We're
individual
blaming the cult, really.
that is part of greater communities. That's all I have to say for now. Again, if you don't have anything nice to say, you don't need to be in my comments.
I'm going to do a few more, then I'll go on to some humor.
When I dress up and I put this
Watch
mask
this.
on
This
and the
is
wig and
ridiculous.
look very nice, it's like a beautiful woman walking down the street.
I just can't believe
It's
that
an
that's
old
a
dude.
70-year-old man in the mirror. And that's why I
It'd
do
have to be
this.
hot in that
If
crap.
I saw a 70-year-old man in the mirror, I'd quit this tomorrow.
After years in solitude, Robert has decided to appear in public as Sherry at a gathering of fellow maskers in Minneapolis.
I don't have any friends that
It's an old man.
that mask at where I live. So I just came to see what kind of people do mask and wear rubber
sick is that?
and are rubber dolls.
And what kind of people are they?
I don't know yet. All right. That might work with a wig. Okay. All right. Jeez, I don't know. No, I'm going to go with that. But then with the gloves. Damn it. When I do it, I want to look really good.
It's sort of like the drag queens, but worse. Unbelievable. Maybe he thinks he can get enough plastic surgery to fix all that. I don't know. Anyways, next one's man says he doesn't look like a man. He thinks he's a woman. There we go.
Transphobes are so funny because, like, actually, just look at me.
That's a
Just
dude.
take a second and look at me. Look at the 115-pound man standing in
They
front of you.
starve
Right
themselves to do
the
that.
man with zero body hair and the temperament of a rabid chihuahua. Look at
Where's
every
it-
other
where's his
man
chestnut?
in my family, and then look at me and just seriously try to convince me that I was not being obliterated with estrogen while I was in the womb. Like, I'm sorry that I was born with an extra sidearm on me, but I think I'm like 90% of the way complete. You know, just a couple HRT pills and some cherry whipped cream on top, and it'll finish it up perfectly.
Yep. Okay, I'm going to go on to some of the funnies now that I have. I'm going to start with the ones from Cracker Barrel, funny ones.
Hello,
Shorts.
I'm the Cracker from Cracker Barrel. And y'all know I sat on
You
that
saw
damn
that, huh,
logo for 48
Hey,
damn years.
Happy Labor Day. I forgot
Longer than
about
a snake deep throat in a giraffe neck. Then overnight, you got this diverse, evil, ignorant, or DEI group of people taking over our marketing.
I agree. What
Talking
is
about
that?
we need a rebrand. Then poof, I'm going faster than a black man driving through Alabama. How you gonna rebrand without debrand? I'm the goddamn reason people come to Cracker Barrel. How you gonna have a place called Cracker Barrel without a cracker leaning on a barrel? I mean, what's next, America? A black female Popeyes manager that doesn't fight her customers. Cracker Barrel needs a cracker and a barrel. And I'm the coldest cracker son of a bitch to ever lean on a barrel this side of a Mississippi. Hell, maybe both sides. But don't you go worry about your old boy Cracker. I got a little nest egg and I'll find something to lean on. I always have. But it's a damn shame what y'all done let happen to old Barrel. Who the hell out here finna hire me, bro? Nobody. Nobody hiring barrels. I might as well just jump in the fucking fireplace, bro.
Oh shit, this nigga dead, y'all. Oh no, when this
Stuff they can do with AI is pretty good these days. I got some baby Trump ones coming up, too.
Jesus, why ain't nobody tell this dumbass to die?
All right. Next, I'm going to do another Cracker Barrel one, then I'll get into the baby Trump ones.
Calvin Klein said being morbidly obese was cool. Then Nike used a man in leggings to sell women's clothes. They must think we're fools. Go woke, go broke. That's what they say. Try selling folks what they don't want. You'll find there's hell to pay. If you ask me, you should keep your politics to yourself and we'll both have a better day. Greedy banks lecturing me about DEI. Are they for real? And some whack jobs named Ben and Jerry want me to boycott Israel. It's enough to make you reach for a beer.
So sick, you're right. Hey, Pat.
Next they'll
Missed a
call
lot of
it
good
the
stuff.
Queen of Beers. Guess this bud ain't for you.
They are sick. 'Cause I thought it ended in some
Go, bro.
humor.
Different company, different
Next
day.
15
Sell
minutes or so.
liberal
Hey,
insanity, and you'll see that business plan don't pay. Best Foods don't want your opinion.
Happy Labor Day.
On Trump. Just want mayo for my sandwich. That okay? Why, oh, why do brands and insist on committing suicide.
Here they go, Wolf idiots.
You could left me on the logo and just let it ride. Hey, Wall Street, God, politics, and sex ain't your business. So do me a favor and stay the heck out of mine. Go woke, go broke. That's what they say. Had enough of your brand sermonizing like yesterday. Stick to selling your screens, beans, and widget machines. Oh, and did I mention Sydney Sweeney has great
jeans? Good ones. All right, these are all funny ones.
Cracker Barrel. The name alone, it's sacred. It's America. It's rocking chairs, biscuits the size of your fist, and a store full of things nobody asked for, but you buy anyway. And now they've gone and changed the logo. Here's the truth. Nobody asked for a new logo. What we wanted was unlimited biscuits. What we wanted was a third peg in that triangle game so we could finally win.
There at Cracker
But
Barrel?
no.
That's kind of
Instead
a
of
ways
giving the
from
people
my
what
house,
they
so we've only
want,
been
they
there
gave
like
us a logo that looks like it was designed by Sleepy Joe Biden. At what point do we as a country put a stop to this tyrannical destruction of our rich culture and history? Mail-in ballots, total disaster, fake, crooked week. So I said no more, no machines, no mail, just paper. Real paper, baby-proof paper. You can drool on it, still counts. Democrats hate it, which means it's perfect.
Yep.
They finally did it. I told you, I'm unstoppable. Biggest ruling in 100 years. The Supreme Court just told federal judges, sit down. No more blocking executive orders from your favorite president. This is what winning looks like. We're back, baby. Stronger, faster, and more powerful than ever. The deep state, panicking, the fake news, crying, and me, I'm glowing. Like a golden dome of freedom, like I always say. If you want it done right, put Trump in charge.
Yep.
Oh, I just dropped, but I want a refund. Where's my doc? I need a rerun. My parents are broke, can't buy me snacks. Somebody help me, I want to go back.
Here's Gavin Newsom here.
Donald, I demand you stop cleaning up Washington, D.C. right now. If you end the homelessness and crime, everyone will know I could have easily done that in California. How am I supposed to run for president in 2028 if everyone knows I never do anything?
Gavin, I had to clean up D.C. It's like a third world country here.
How dare you, Donald? What you're doing is somehow homophobic and fascist.
Instead of wasting my time, why don't you fix those problems in California?
You know damn well if I did that, I'd have nothing to campaign on every 4 years.
Okay, then why don't you at least rebuild the Palisades then? It's been 8 months since the LA fires burned it down.
I would if I had the money.
Well, what happened to the money we gave you?
It's in my pocket right now, and I don't have time to get it out.
Gavin, take the money we sent you out of your pocket and use it to rebuild
How about
the
all the money for that?
You know what?
fast
You're
train?
being unreasonable. Screw you!
Is everything all right, Gavin?
No, the president's making me look bad. I'm so upset right now, I don't feel like fixing California for at least another 4 years.
I know what you mean, Gavin. I've been mayor of Los Angeles for 3 years and still don't feel like doing anything.
Oh my God. I think my fancy wine glasses were delivered. They were a bit expensive, but money hasn't been an issue since I got those fire recovery funds. What the hell is this? Oh, he's done it now. Are you seriously going to run for a third term?
I think so, Gavin. Who knows? I may even run for a fourth term.
That's it. I'm running against you in 2028.
You'll
I'm
have
going
a
to pretend
meltdown.
there's nothing wrong with California, harder than I've ever pretended before.
Ridiculous. They'd have a meltdown, I tell you that.
But if you're not happy in the U.S., if you're complaining all the time,
just leave.
Very simply, you can leave. You can leave right now. Come back if you want. Don't come back. It's okay too. But if you're not happy, you can leave.
I forgot what this one was. Let me.
So I just got an email from Loudoun County Public Schools here in Virginia saying they will not be signing the Department of Education's resolution to restrict bathrooms and locker rooms to biological gender, meaning they're still going to let boys use the girls' bathrooms and girls use the boys' bathrooms based on their identity. And they give some pseudo-legalese as to why, but then they say this. We know from research and from our own experience in LCPS that inclusive policies contribute to safer, more supportive learning environments for all. Above all, our mission at LCPS is to empower all students to make meaningful contributions to the world. That begins with creating school environments where every child feels they belong. We will not waver in that commitment. Now, I'm a Loudoun County mom. I have a son coming up through this public school system and another child who's not far behind. Because here in Virginia, we don't have a voucher system, and millions of people don't have much of a choice. And I will tell you right now that this is some bullcrap. This is the same exact school system that covered up not one, but 2 sexual assaults in girls' bathrooms in 2 separate high schools by a dude in a dress. This is the same school system that is currently under investigation by the Virginia Attorney General for charging 15-year-old boys with harassment simply for saying that they were uncomfortable with a girl using their locker rooms. Students are not safe when they're being raped in bathrooms. Students are not respected when they are targeted simply for defending their own privacy. This is not inclusive. This is idiotic on the part of this school board and this administration. They are defending policies that have proven to put students at risk because they are cowards. And this crap needs to stop now.
Absolutely. There's more humor.
Y'all crazy ass soft lefties have tried to get him out of office twice. Both times you have failed. So sit down, buckle up, shut up, and enjoy the ride, you bunch of soft ass bitches.
Absolutely.
We defunded a choo-choo for $4 billion. They were building a train, $4 billion, still no wheels. So I said, choo-choo, more like boo-hoo. We cut it. California gets nothing. Maybe next time you build faster than my golf cart. America invests in winners, not whiners on rails.
I wake up in the morning and my body is tight. Cause once you're over 40, you have to stretch when you rise. You can't even twist your legs to stand up. Cause you might dislocate your knee before you even get up. You sound like Rice Krispie cereal as you start to rise. Snap, crackle, pop sound coming from feet all the way to your eyes. Full
Yeah,
the smell of
I did see that, Mark,
in your
about the biscuits.
body consumes every night just so joints that they can move.
There was
I
someone
guess
there
what you
that,
get 40 body
doesn't work
breaking
there
down.
anymore.
Can't even have a cheat day cause you begin packing on pounds. Can never sleep a full 8 hours at night. Cause I always pee 2-3 times before the morning light. Ooh,
so true.
It's hard and rough sometimes when you live in over 40 life.
Definitely when you're about 70, it's definitely like that. Oh, I tell you about it. I don't remember that. What this
Here at Cracker Barrel,
Oh, yeah,
we
this is
value diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's why we are going one step further to ruin our brand. We are investing millions of dollars into replacing all of brown pegs in the peg game to bright, colorful pegs. Also, we're changing the rules. The white pegs are not allowed to move or jump anymore, leaving the colored pegs to do whatever they want. We call it Down with the Cracker. It's about being fair in an unfair world. Are you down with the cracker?
I didn't know they had a little bell on it. I guess they do. I can't remember. I think they had a place where you could, in Cracker Barrel, where you could shop too, but it was overpriced for a lot of stuff they're doing. Here's a little bit of Nixon for you.
And I want to say this to the television audience. I made my mistakes, but in all of my years of public life, I have never profited from public service. I've earned every cent. And in all of my years of public life, I have never obstructed justice. And I think, too, that I can say that in my years of public life, that I welcome this kind of examination, because people have got to know whether or not their president's a crook.
Yeah, a lot of
Well, I'm not a
the
crook.
diners. are
I've
better.
earned everything I've got.
My mom always believed that.
President? Yes.
Rice Krispies. Yeah. I was reading the comments there. Where am I at here? Okay, here's a good one. Woke code culture.
Some people say you shouldn't pull the trigger. They say my very existence can be a trigger.
So let me give you a trigger warning. The warning is I am the trigger.
Dog sitting, huh? Oh, the love gets so triggered so easily.
Fucking retard.
Walk on by.
Really good.
Walk on by.
Tiffany Fong wants you to walk on by.
Yeah, she's on Twitter a lot.
CORRUPT. Every government agency, cesspools of waste, fraud, and abuse. Time to let the big doge loose. Faceless Marxist bureaucrats, public servants put in America last, working in stealth with dirty hands, squandering wealth in faraway lands. Wanna see what the left's been doing to give the country they hate a royal screwing? Funneling hard-earned taxpayer dough into hidden agendas like NGOs, secret grants, big black holes. Whoever it was running the show, it sure wasn't Joe. It sure wasn't Joe. Nation took it up the rectum, cause Sleepy Joe
Where's the alarm?
was on the
What alarm
dementia
is that?
spectrum. Thank the Lord we didn't re-elect him. Where, oh, where did our tax dollars go? Here comes Doge. Open your kimono. Who let the Doge out? Trump. Arrogance and full regalia. Billions worldwide to sever genitalia. Transgender comic book in Peru. Ivy League schools isolating Jews. Who let the Doge out? Trump. Who's millions to research transgender mice? Billions for DEI, zilch for ICE. Men and girls' restrooms, what a lot of nerve. There used to be a word for that, and if I recall, it's perv. If you want to win in woman's
Big Mike.
best to be hung like a horse. With all the insanity that abounds, the time has come to release the hound. Who let the Doge out? Trump. Who let the Doge out? Trump. Who let the Doge out? Trump.
To be continued. That's pretty good. Yeah, pretty good stuff. All right, this dude spent $75,000 to try to look like Madonna. No way they look like Madonna, this dude.
Do you love being Madonna? I love being Madonna.
Hey, sexy fellas. My name is Adam. I live in Hollywood, California, and I am addicted to being Madonna. I have had over 18 surgeries. I spent $75,000 to look like Madonna. I've had my cheeks done, my jaw done, my chin done. I've had Botox. I mean, half of my face is fake.
All right, I'm going to chance it and play a little bit more from the guy that had the manifesto, that psycho that did the shooting. Here we go. Last time they knocked me off the web for this dude. This is this type of content this guy created.
Here's my note to my family and shit. Wow, some English writing. Wow.
Now someone said that. Now this one is in English. The other one looked like it was in Russian, didn't it, Marianne? I actually have like 5 videos from this.
Yeah.
4 or 5.
Peace, love, unity, and guns. Пока, my brata.
I know the volume's not very high.
Пока.
Yeah, we had a family get together earlier today. Kind of family on my wife's side.
Get
Food.
fucked.
Yeah, everyone have a wonderful weekend. This is the last video I'm going to
This
play.
message brought to you by BlackRock.
That was a dude, wasn't it, Marianne?
Sponsored by Pabst Blue Ribbon.
It is a demon.
Brandon Herrera for president.
I tried like heck to try to do this like 4 times yesterday, and the web kept knocking me off.
I met Brandon Herrera at SHOT Show
and
last
Facebook
year.
Gave me warnings.
He and I had
They're probably going to give me one now.
A brief conversation, but
we'll
we
see.
agreed on a lot of things. So
I'm sorry about the volume being low.
Vote for Brandon Herrera for president.
And, but anyways, basically he's sick in his head.
Vintage
now this guy
Warfare
was a trans
love and peace
started talking about becoming detrans, and the trans people turned against him, and that made him led him to want to do this, to want to kill the church people.
Tomorrow. I'm
saying
sorry
tomorrow he's going to shoot
to my
people.
family. But that's it. That's the only people I'm sorry to. Fuck those kids.
So far, they haven't knocked me off. Hopefully, everyone's there. I got 4 videos, some long, over 20 minutes, of this idiot, this sicko.
Shit.
But he dared say he was going to detrans, and the trans community came down on him like hell.
Regret everything.
What was it saying? Brandon put
I didn't
out a
ask
statement
for
saying he has no
You didn't
recollection
ask
of ever talking to this guy. I don't know who Brandon is, actually, though. I'm not sure. I could look up the name. Maybe.
Yeah. Watch my 9mm go bang.
See, he wants to shoot Jesus. He blames God for a lot of stuff. Does everyone have tomorrow off? Kind of semi-retired, so I can do it. Now, the one of these has Trump's thing on. See how a lot of these R's are backwards and stuff? A lot of it's in Russian, I guess. Some of them are saying. But he has on there, kill Trump on one of these, on his gun, I think. And the media was saying, see, he posted Trump on this thing like he was a Trump supporter somehow. They knew it was obvious that he said kill Trump, and yet the media still tried to, especially CNN, tried to promote that he had put Trump on there. Yeah, he's real sick. I'd like to play all of these, but I know dang well that a lot of these platforms are going to take him down. Oh, that's good.
The worker, baby.
Have a good family day.
So curious.
Oh, he has a store
Where's
in.
your fucking God now?
Yeah, what did he do for a living in San Antonio?
Shit.
One of this says something about Trump on one of these, about killing Trump. They already passed it.
Skibbity Riz.
Really sick. I'm hoping I don't get blocked on,
Scum gang.
I don't know how well you can hear him, but he has a lot of hate now. Definitely hates Israel.
The big boy.
It has the N-word on there. There it is. Oh, let me
Fucking
pause
rip.
it there. What? Let's see if I can go back 10 seconds and play it again.
The big boy.
Right there about killing Trump.
Fucking.
Dang, I can't get it to stop and look clear. But he's talking about killing Trump.
Rip and tear.
But he also has it on his gun
That's
as
the
well.
big one.